Hey everyone, good afternoon. Darrell Whittinger here from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center with a quick look at your most reliable forecast. We're actually going to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. Several big changes are on the way, including temperatures that are going to be skyrocketing. Highs well above average for this time of the year, and on a couple days flirting with record high temperatures. But also, we are looking at a weak front pushing through during the next 24 hours or so. So buckle up. This is going to be fun. We're going to do some analysis and look at what's been happening, what's going to happen, and what you can expect next, how that's going to impact your weekend plans. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments section below. But right here, right now, across the high desert, tons of sunshine. A couple of clouds out there, but no precipitation in sight. We're actually looking at some clouds, no moisture at all, and almost no mercy as we go through the next couple of days. But if you like the hotter temperatures, you're going to love what's coming up. Right now, there was a little bit of haze in those cameras, but our air quality is sitting in the green, or good air quality, not just the real-time sensors from eSpace, but also the base map, that green on the surface. That is your hourly average from the DEQ. All of it shows we have good air quality, but we are continuing to track the progression of that Houston fire from a couple of days ago. There's still a level 1 be ready evacuation for parts of that area from Northwest Way all the way to 97, where it's been the last couple of days. And really, I think that's going to stay in place until they get done mopping up. Now, let's look at satellite and radar. With radar, there's no precipitation in sight. With satellite, we can see some of those light clouds that have been developing, but more specifically, what we're looking at with this graphic, this view, is that cold front that's way up at the very top, right behind the banner. That's a system that rolls through on Friday, and that's what brings us some in and out clouds. Meanwhile, when we look at water vapor satellite imagery, we also have pressure on there, and these white lines are isobars, equal lines of pressure, and they're pretty stacked up right offshore. We call that a steep gradient, and that's where we have stronger winds. Over the high desert, it's been a little on the breezy side, not too bad at all, but where you're seeing this huge area of yellow, that is a very dry air mass in the lower atmosphere, and it's just parked over the high desert. And so as our cold front makes its way into the Pacific Northwest, it's battling that dry air mass. And so really we're looking at some in and out clouds, nothing in the way of precipitation, and that's not even going to slow down our heating trend that we've been looking at through the last couple of days. In fact, look at this. Today, in the last 24 hours, we've topped out in the 70s and 80s across our Tri-County area. So that's very close to where that forecast was. This time yesterday, I was forecasting a high of 80 degrees today, and that's pretty much where we got for some, just not quite everybody. Current temperatures, we're sitting in the 70s with a few 80s on the map, and it looks like that Madras temperature just updated to 81 degrees, and so a little bit hotter in some places than we were showing with the high temperatures graphic. Now in the last 24 hours, temperatures have bumped up between 2 and 10 degrees, so it's warmer than it was yesterday, and that means a very pleasant evening is in store for us, with temperatures falling through the 70s, the 60s, into the 50s. Overnight, we're going to be bottoming out in the 40s for many of us, but not everybody gets that cool, and a mild start is expected through the day on Friday. So we'll be wrapping up the work week with a mild start, some AM clouds, more PM sunshine, stronger afternoon and evening winds, and temperatures topping out in the mid to upper 80s with a few 90s. On top of that, we do still have very high UV index. And this intensity is mostly because during the midday and afternoon hours, that cloud cover is thinning out, so that sunshine is going to be directly on top of us once again with those highs in the 80s. Now by Saturday and Sunday, we go from 8 to 10 both days. Now that's still very high, not quite extreme, but by Monday we see a shift in the weather pattern. Actually, we're under a ridge of high pressure. That high begins to flatten, and when that happens, it opens the door for a little bit of convective shower activity. And any showers that develop, we're going to be tracking for thunderstorm potential. So when it comes to very high UV intensity, you'll want to remember to bring those shades. Grab that sunscreen on your way out the door, and if you're spending several hours outside, reapply the sunscreen every 2 hours, or if you have sensitive skin, you might just want to go for UPF instead of SPF SPF, so some protective clothing. When in doubt, seek the shade, but always stay hydrated. And if you have sensitive skin, you may want to avoid being outside. But we're locking into that very high UV index through the next several days, so just keep that in mind. So this is a forecast model that uses geopotential height. It helps us put a bullseye where our high pressure, where our low pressure is, where cold fronts are. And this is actually really helpful in times like this when there's not much precipitation showing on the traditional forecast model. So we're going to take it little by little and go through the next couple of days. Friday, we have the tail end of that front rolling through. So a little bit of troughing, not much though. And what that means for us is in and out AM clouds are expected by the afternoon. We are back to sunshine, but highs still picking up even more. Mid to upper 80s, a few low 90s expected. By Saturday, that high pressure sets up over the Pacific Northwest. This brings subsidence into the picture. And subsidence is pretty much the atmosphere pushing down on the surface, and very little cloud cover development is expected. Temperatures top out in the 90s with some 80s, and we double down on that for Sunday. Temperatures actually cranking up a couple more degrees, and by the afternoon and evening, it is going to be breezy once again. Some clouds are expected through this weekend, but we are staying dry. Our heating trend actually peaks on Monday, and Monday could go one of two ways. Number one, we get that sunshine, a little bit of convective cloud cover during the afternoon, temperatures topping out in the mid-90s. Number two, more clouds start to develop through the midday hours, and it slows down our heating trend. So the actual high on Monday is going to be somewhere between 92 and 95 degrees when it comes to the average for the Tri-County area. But that second example also brings in the chance, because our ridge of high pressure is flattening, it's opening up the door for a little bit of convection. By Monday afternoon and evening, we could be looking at some scattered showers, and any showers that develop we're going to be tracking for thunderstorm potential. By Tuesday, temperatures dip back into the 80s, and then a cooling trend sets up that knocks us back down to near average for this time of the year. So let's look at our forecast model. We can see that high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean. That's what's expanded into the Pacific Northwest. Through the overnight hours, we stay clear. By Friday morning, the tail end of that cold front we were talking about earlier pushes through the Pacific Northwest. Now this will bring more cloud cover through the AM hours, but no precipitation is expected. And by the time that cold front clips the area and pushes out, we're back to clearing by the afternoon. Saturday, sunshine. Sunday, sunshine. High pressure, just the dominant feature over the region. By Monday, this is when we could see some of those showers pushing through. So let's move over to the GFS. This is our long range forecast model. The traditional one that I typically use on air doesn't go out to Monday afternoon. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to actually open this up so we can scrub back and forth and look at what's really going to happen. So through the day Monday, we start off clear, and by the afternoon, that's when we get more clouds. And this specific forecast model shows that during the evening hours, we're not looking at much in the way of precipitation, but a few sprinkles are going to be possible overnight. This one shows also by Tuesday, we have that chance for some hit-and-miss showers and some thunderstorms. Now, the latest forecast models through the last couple of days, the long-range ones, have been going back and forth on whether to place that convection on Monday or Tuesday. So we're going to hang on just a little bit longer until more model guidance comes available, and that's going to be by tomorrow afternoon. So through the rest of Tuesday, we get PM clearing, and then by Wednesday, we're back to sunshine. By Thursday, even more sunshine with some afternoon clouds rolling into the high desert. So between now and 11 p.m. Saturday, we have that weak front rolling through, no precipitation is expected. Then that high pressure builds into the region through the rest of Friday going into Saturday, and it's set up right over the coastline by the time we hit Saturday at 11 p.m. And notice there's just no precipitation on the ground at all through the next 72 hours. Now winds currently aren't too strong at all. Gusts aren't even showing up. The actual wind speed is between 5 and 15 miles per hour. And as we go forward through the rest of this afternoon, it's still going to be breezy at times. Remember with this graphic, everything to the left of that white line, that now line, is observed. Everything to the right is forecast. So tonight we're coming back down to a light breeze, a gentle breeze, even calming for many of us. By tomorrow afternoon, we are looking at winds getting breezy at times going into the evening, and the same thing repeats on Saturday. So for tonight, temperatures falling back through the 50s and into the 40s. This is going to be a mild start to wrap up the work week. Then temperatures crank up quickly. Highs are going to be in the mid to upper 80s with a few 90s possible, and some AM clouds give way to PM sunshine. And then as we go forward through the rest of the 7-day planner, we're back to sunshine Saturday and Sunday. By Monday and Tuesday, that's when we see this ridge of high pressure flatten. We get that shift in the weather pattern that opens the door for some convection. Remember, the long range forecast model guidance has been going back and forth on Monday and Tuesday where it wants to place that convection. Some runs, it's been on Monday afternoon. Some runs, like today, it's been through Tuesday. But either way, we're getting a dip in temperatures Tuesday and Wednesday. By Thursday, we're back to near that average high in the mid 70s across the high desert. So let's look at a couple other things before I let you go. The latest drought monitor has been released, and as we were talking about yesterday, they've actually expanded it a little bit more with that very dry or abnormally dry area. So this is a quick look at what it was like yesterday. And then fast forward to today and it just spread it out. So because of the lack of precipitation through the last couple of weeks, we're getting drier and drier. Now that bodes poorly for fire weather conditions because under this intense sunshine with the hot temperatures and breezy afternoons, everything is drying out. All those fine surface fuels are drying out, and like we saw earlier this week, anything could start, and with breezy afternoons, anything can spread pretty quickly. In the last 30 days, we've been very dry on the high desert. It hasn't really impacted our last 365 days. It's still near normal precipitation through the last full year, but we do still have those increasing drought conditions across the high desert. So that is something we're continuing to track very closely because that latest update from today spreads that abnormally dry over the Cascades and into the high desert, as well as coming from northeast Oregon into Crook County just a little bit. But just a quick recap for everybody. Our weather headlines for this Thursday, June the 5th, include this sunshine streak continuing. Heat surge is expected through this weekend with very high UV index, and breezy afternoons are still in play with very dry conditions. Friday does bring some AM clouds, and that's giving way to PM sunshine. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the rest of your most reliable forecast and the updates on forecast model guidance and the latest headlines and news. We'll see you then.